homerjnick here. Going to do another video on the final standings of the leaderboards for Season 15 of Diablo 3 across all three console platforms now. We've got the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, and new to Season 15 was Nintendo Switch players. After we check all three console platforms, I want to do a comparison of the top clears between all four platforms, including PC. If you haven't seen these videos before, I try to do them at the end of every season. I like to show the top 5 spots in each of the solo leaderboards in both softcore and hardcore. I like to show the top 3 group spots in the 2-man, 3-man and 4-man leaderboards. There'll be a bracket and a number against a player's name, which denotes how many primals they have when they did their GR clear. It's just a pity that I can't tell you the player's paragon. There's no way of knowing a player's paragon from the leaderboards on the console version of Diablo 3. The reality is Blizzard should put all this information on their own website like they do with PC rankings, but sadly we don't have that. So, let us quickly go through all the leaderboards, and then let's discuss at the end the differences on the console compared to the PC and some interesting things that come out of it. Alright, let's start off with the PlayStation 4 stats. That's the platform that I play on. Here's the softcore solo leaderboards at the end of Season 15. So let's start at the top and work our way through them. Let's start off with the Wizards then. And as you can see, the DMO Twister Wizard rules on consoles. There is a reason for that. You can channel and cast Twisters at the same time by pressing 2 buttons at the same time, and Twisters do not despawn when they hit walls and corners and such like. So on console, this build is just insanely powerful. In fact, it's the most powerful build in the whole game on any platform. And for Season 16 there's some ramifications on console play for that, but we'll talk about that later. But 131 on softcore was done by a DMO Twister Wizard, and all 5 spots are clear. I'm not going to mention the number of primals. It obviously was double bounty for Season 15, so people had more options to reforge, but obviously primals is not king, paragon is king. I can't tell players paragon from this, but it's pretty impressive to clear a GR 131 solo anyway on the Wizards. The Witch Doctors, Arakir's Firebats was top with 113, and they were fairly competitive, 113, 111 and 110, but significantly lower than the Twister Wizards, which you've got a feel for. The Necros, they suffer from the same build issue as the Wizards and I suppose Crusaders, in that only one build kind of wins the leaderboards, and that's the Pestilence Corpse Lance. And on PlayStation 4, 122 on softcore was the top clear, but there was fairly good competition there between the Necros. Monks, there's always going to be some Muko Wave of Lights that dominate, and 119 was cleared in softcore. It's interesting it wasn't the Focus and Restraint version of it, which is trickier to play but more powerful. But the Sun Muko Wave of Light cleared 119 in softcore. Demon Hunters, Unhallowed Essence Multi-Shot wins the day on PlayStation 4 with a GR 115 cleared. Shadow and Pale 3 GRs behind it on 112. So 115 for Demon Hunters, 119 for Monks, 122 for Necro, 113 Witch Doctors. Witch Doctors seems to be the worst class in softcore at the moment there. Condemned Crusaders, again, same problem as Necros and Wizards, and that one build rules them all, and you're not going to beat a Condemned Crusader, and they cleared a very impressive 124. And I suspect that would be the strongest build if it wasn't for the DMO Twister Wizard in console. Barbs are in the goose spot. They cleared 120 with the Hota Barb, although there was a charge barb in the leaderboards. But that's our softcore solo leaderboards for PlayStation 4. How did the groups get on? Let's check them. Alright, so here's the softcore groups, and we might as well just mention this because it's going to occur on all groups for consoles, and that the meta is pretty static. in 2-man it's going to be a DMO Twister Wizard with support Barb. In a 3-man it's going to be a DMO Twister Wizard with 2 supports, Barb and Monk. And on 4-man it's going to be a DMO Twister Wizard, 2 supports, and a Rift Guardian Killer, which is going to be the Pestilence Corpse Lance. You're very rarely going to see anything different to that. And so on the PlayStation 4 and Softcore, the 2-man cleared GR 134 with that. They cleared 138 on the 3-man, and the 4-man on PlayStation 4 Softcore cleared 146. And as you can see, that was fairly competitive with 145 and 143 behind it. And so, yeah, DMO Twister Wizard rules solo, but also is going to be great for killing trash in group play. And so it appears in all 2, 3 and 4-man. But they are very impressive clears nonetheless for Softcore. So that's Softcore on the PlayStation 4. Shall we have a look now at the Hardcore Solo leaderboards? And so here we are, Hardcore Solo on the PlayStation 4, and it's no surprise to see the DMO Twister Wizard rule in Hardcore as well, and that's fairly impressive to do a GR 124 in Hardcore. Resident shout out to Douglas Merksome, 13 Primals, Resident Cheater in Hardcore on PlayStation 4, well known for it, who finished second, but at least he was beaten with 124. Witch Doctors, and as you can see, not all top 5 spots clear a GR 100. Witch Doctors and Hardcore seem to struggle. There's not that many of them, I don't think. So 106 was the top clear there. It's interesting to see the Necros. It wasn't just the Corpse Lance builds from Pestilence and in all top 5 spots. There was a Rathma Skeletal Mages build in there, but it was never going to clear what the Pestilence Corpse Lance could do, and 116 was a top hardcore clear in there. Monks would be the Sunwuko Wave of Light build in hardcore as well as softcore. It suits hardcore, I suppose, because it can be mostly ranged. Although a big shout out to Speedy Zach, who completed a GR 113 and took second spot with the Focus and Restraint version, which requires you to get up close and personal to the enemies with that build, so that's very impressive. Demon Hunters and Hardcore, it's a Shadow Impale that took top spot with 114. It was the UE multi-shot in softcore, but Shadow Impale seems to be favoured on the hardcores and hardcore builds, so yeah, 114 was cleared by our Demon Hunters. And of course it was going to be Condemned Crusaders again that dominates the leaderboards, and 118 was cleared in hardcore by the Crusaders. And the Barbs, very impressive clear for number 1 spot of 114, which was what, 6 levels above second spot of 108. And so hardcore on the PS4 community seems well supported, apart from Witch Doctors, but I think that's across every platform. But there were some very high and decent clears and very competitive play on the hardcore solo leaderboards. What about the hardcore group leaderboards then? Okay, so we have the same in the hardcore groups as we do the softcore, and that the meta is very much defined. So we have the DMO Twister Wizard and Support Barbs in 1, 2 and 3 spots that cleared 128 in hardcore on the PlayStation 4. The 2 supports and a DMO Twister Wizard was a 3-man meta, which was again competitive, 129, 128 and 127, 129 taking the top spot on the 3-man. And then the 4-man, a very impressive GR 131 in hardcore 4-man group with the meta there. I'm struggling to remember, and I need to probably check if the 130s has been done before on console for a hardcore group, but I think that's fairly impressive to do 131 in the hardcore. So that was a quick look at the PlayStation 4 softcore and hardcore solo and group leaderboards. It's now time to have a look at the Xbox One leaderboards and see how those guys did. Alright, so let's start off with the softcore solo leaderboards on the Xbox One for Season 15. And it's going to be more or less similar to the PlayStation 4 with the types of builds that were meta and were top spots on the leaderboards. And as you can see from the Wizards, we did indeed have all DMO Twister Wizards in there, and top spot cleared 129. Interesting that second spot was 125, so it wasn't that competitive, or number one spot, certainly 4 GR levels above the second spot, and they did very well. Interesting, number 4 spot has 13 primals, so the first one we look at has 13 primals straight away. But yeah, 129 was the top clear on Xbox One Softcore. Witch Doctors, they did a pretty good 111. IIITRISKIII's Firebat, again, being top build for Witch Doctors on console on the Xbox One. But I mean, you know, you got to feel for the Witch Doctors, because that still is the lowest. On PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, it's the lowest performing class in the game at the moment. So 111 was top, and that's a full 18 behind the Wizard. Necros on Xbox One was the same. It's Pestilence Corpse Lance ruled, and a GR 120 was the winner on that leaderboard, and that is very good. Monk, Sunmuko Wave of Light, naturally would dominate, 114. Took it, and then second, third, fourth, and fifth all doing a GR 111. But yeah, 114 took the top spot. Like PlayStation 4, Unhallowed Essence Multi-Shot wins on Softcore. It takes 114 for the Demon Hunters. Crusaders, it would always be Condemned Crusaders, and they cleared on Xbox out of a very impressive 123. So that's only 6 behind the Wizard, to be fair. So that is very good, and that looked very competitive as well, with all players very close to one another. And Barbs are in a good spot on the Xbox 2, with Hota Barb clearing 118, followed by 117. Leapquake appears on Xbox, that didn't on PlayStation 4, in third and fourth spot. Yeah, but 118 cleared. So that's all very similar to PlayStation 4, as we saw, where the Wizards were by far, with the stupid DMO Twister Wizard winning, and the rest of the class is very close, with the Demon Hunters and the Witch Doctors kind of lagging behind. That's Softcore Solo on Xbox One. Let's have a look at the Softcore groups. Alright, so here's the groups in the Softcore for Xbox One, and it's interesting to see that it's not the fully defined meta that appears in the leaderboard spots. For instance, in the 2-man, whilst it's the support Barb and DMO Twister Wizard that took 131 top spot, there was a support Monk and the DMO Twister Wizard in there in second spot. So they cleared 131 in 2-man. The 3-man group, it was the 2 supports and the DMO Twister Wizard that took all entries, and it was 133 was the top clear. And Xbox One guys did a GR 145 in 4-man with the meta. That's some hugely impressive clears for the console. So yeah, GR 145 with top spot. So that's the Softcore group on Xbox. It's now time to look at the hardcore solo entries for the Xbox. Alright, hardcore Xbox One guys, here's what they did solo. So naturally on the Wizards, it would be DMO Twister Wizard that would rule. It was very close, and GR 117 was the top clear there. The Witch Doctors, as we mentioned, hardcore Witch Doctors in both PlayStation 4 and Xbox One really seem to struggle. There's maybe just a lack of players, as I mentioned. But the top one was 100, and the rest of them followed with 94s and 92s. But yeah, it must be either really boring or really tough to play a hardcore Witch Doctor on console, as there were not many clears that are high on there. All Pestilence Necros, and Corpse Lance on Xbox One hardcore solo leaderboards. 110 was the top clear there. Same with the Monks with the 1 build, the Sunmuko Wave of Light, and 111 was the top clear this time round on the hardcore Xbox One guys. It looks fairly competitive as well. 111. Demon Hunters cleared 104 was the top one, Shadow and Pale. So that was like the PlayStation 4, where Shadow and Pale wins in hardcore, but Unhallowed Essence Multi-Shot wins in softcore. But yeah, if you look at the Witch Doctors and the Demon Hunters, 104 and 100 compared to 117s, 110s, and 11s and other classes, really struggling to play that on hardcore, or perhaps it's just a lack of players. Condemned Crusader, didn't seem to be very competitive on Xbox. 108 was a top clear and 105 was second, and then you had in the 90s and the other spots. So 108 was a top clear there. And Leap Kick Bard was number 1 in hardcore on Xbox One with 107. So that was different to the PlayStation 4. So that's the hardcore solo leaderboards on Xbox One. Time to look at the hardcore groups. Alright, hardcore Xbox One group leaderboards. Now, there's something strange going on with this. I don't know. I'm not an Xbox One player, but doesn't seem Xbox One guys particularly interested in 4-man leaderboards. Anyway, 2-man leaderboards clear 120 with the traditional meta DMO Twister Wizard support Barb. And the 3-man also did a GR 120 with the 2 supports and the DMO Twister Wizard. But I'm just slightly confused at the 4-man leaderboards for the Xbox One. Didn't seem anybody was willing to go up into the GR 100, high 120s, 130s, as other platforms did. So 119 was done, and it wasn't even done with the meta. 2 wizards, 2 supports, and then the second spot you've got demon hunters in there, and in the third spot as well. So the kind of traditional meta of Corpse Lance, Rift Guardian Killer, Necro, your Trash Killer, DMO Wizards, and your 2 supports is not seen in the hardcore for the 4-man leaderboards for the Xbox One guys. So again, is there just a lack of hardcore players, and then they're not grouping up? I certainly find in hardcore in the PlayStation 4, it's hard to group up in hardcore because lack of players, and a lack of players from my own region, because you've got to play a lot and consistently. I'm in the UK, and it's hard to find players in the UK who will play at my time, so perhaps that's the reason why Xbox One 4-man leaderboards are as they are. But that's the Xbox One leaderboards done. Now it's time to look at the first season on Nintendo Switch, and there's a few interesting things that appear on the Switch leaderboard. Let's check them out. So here we have Nintendo Switch Softcore Solo leaderboards. Now remember, the Nintendo Switch didn't start the season at the same time as the rest of the platforms. They came in later, so they didn't have as much time. And so just take a look at the leaderboards, take a look at the Wizard, take a look at Demon Hunter, take a look at the Barb. It's a big WTF moment, isn't it? Hang on, you don't do GR 150s in season solo. That's in non-season with all the modded shit that goes on there. So what's going on here? Well, perhaps if you see my other video on the definitive state of cheating on Diablo 3, I showed that on the Switch version there's save editors, and what looks like people are editing and adding 10,000 Paragon points or whatever to their characters, and that works in season. So that's why there's not all DMO Twister Wizards on Switch. We have a Tarasha Meteor Wizard in there who's cleared 150. He's obviously cheating. I'm going to put that entry on there in leaderboards, but it's obviously not legit. And it's sad to say that Diablo 3 in seasons has all these problems. Well, the Switch now has the biggest problem, where people can just edit and cheat away. 122 was second spot, and that is fairly impressive considering that they didn't have them as much time as the other platforms. So that's good to see. Witch Doctors, they did pretty good. 106 wasn't Arakir's Firebat though, it was Helltooth Gargantuan, so that's interesting. But yeah, 106 on the Switch for Softcore. I don't know why there isn't any Pestilence Corpse Lance on Nintendo Switch on the top spot in the leaderboards. It was all Rathmas. Pestilence Corpse Lance for me is tricky. I don't play it, but the targeting on console is different to PC. I play on both platforms, and it's different. It's harder. Obviously you can do it, as Xbox and PS4 players show that you can do Pestilence Corpse Lance. It's just trickier compared to PC, but nobody in Switch did, so Rathma wins the day with 114. It would be Sun Luca Wave of Lights on all the monks in Softcore and Switch, and they cleared 112, and 3 players took 112, so that was a very tight leaderboard. Demon Hunters, well, Unhallowed Multi-Shot was the top build if you take away the GR150 clear. So yeah, that mirrors what we saw on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. They did 112 if you take away the 150, I would say. Condemned Crusaders, yeah, and they got 122. And I would expect that you see the Necros to be closer to 122 if they used the Pestilence Corpse Lance. But that's what the Crusaders did, they did 122. The Barbs, well, you could use any build in the Barb if you can edit your save and do a GR 150. But they did 112, the second spot, with the Hota Barb. And again, that's fairly impressive. As I keep saying, they didn't have the same amount of time as the other platforms. So that was Softcore Solo. How does these weird looking entries then affect the Softcore Group leaderboards on Nintendo Switch? Let's take a look. Well, we didn't expect anything different, did we? So, yep, here's the Nintendo Switch Softcore Group leaderboards, and actually those who save edited in solo leaderboards and took top spot with their GR150s have cleared 2-man and 3-man. Interestingly, they didn't do a 4-man. Could they not get a 4th person to cheat with them? I don't know. But, yeah, the top 2 spots in the 2-man leaderboards did the 150 with the same guy, X-Data. So, the third entry is quite interesting. They did a GR 130 with the Condemned Crusader and Talrasha Meteor Wizard. But it's sad to see the leaderboards ruined like that on Switch. Same in the 3-man with the same guy. They cleared, there was 2 clears of 150. But there was a clear of 127 with the meta on console, 2 supports and a DMO Wizard. The 4-man looks a bit more interesting, so you've got the 139 clear. Let's be honest, that is very impressive on Switch considering they didn't have the same amount of time as other platforms, so to clear 139 is very interesting as well. So that was good on them, good on the Switch players for doing that. But yeah, it's sad to see the leaderboards ruined with the stupid 150 clears. So that's Softcore on Switch. What about Hardcore Solo leaderboards? So, Hardcore Solo leaderboards on Switch, and we have some interesting things, don't we? We don't have DMO Twister Wizard dominating the top 5 spots, and we could probably say legitimately there's other builds in there. Again, a lack of players in Hardcore on the newest platform to have Diablo 3, the Switch. Maybe that's the reason. But DMO should always take top spot, and it did with 113 clear. The Witch Doctors, as we've mentioned already in this video, with the hardcore Witch Doctors really struggling, either through lack of players or it's difficult to do, but they didn't clear the 100, so they cleared the 95 when on Nintendo Switch on the hardcore. Well, yes, Necros. So here we are. We have the save editing going on again. So there was a Pestilence Corpse Lance in the 5th spot with a 90, but the top legit clear was a 98 on hardcore with Arathma, Skeletal Mages. But there we have 150 clear on Nintendo hardcore solo Necromancer leaderboard. Monks were all Sanmuka Wave of Light and very competitive and finished on 109. Unlike the other platforms, on hardcore, Demon Hunters Shadow and Pale took top spot, but forgetting the 150 clear once again, it looked like Multi-Shot won it on the Switch with 106 clear there. Crusaders, Condemned Crusaders on hardcore did 112. That's pretty impressive. And it was Immortal King Hota Barbs that took top spot on all spots on hardcore for the Switch, and the highest clear was 105. So, what about the hardcore groups leaderboards on Switch? So the first thing to note is that the cheaters who save edited didn't do any group clears. That's interesting on hardcore. So we have the top clear in 2-man as 115, which is 10 GR levels above the next guys. Well, it's the same guy, wasn't it? Manson. Yes, in fact, if you look at the 2-man, 3-man and 4-man, it was pretty much the same guy who did all entries to be honest. Doesn't that prove? I think hardcore in general has less players. Hardcore on console has less players, and the Switch being the newest, even less players. So the same guy pretty much dominates this leaderboard. But 115 was done in 2-man, 111 was done in 3-man, and 110 was done in 4-man. So that concludes the Switch leaderboards, and that concludes all 3 console platforms. I think what would be good to do now is to put up all the softcore top clears across all 4 platforms, including PC, and let's just see if there's anything interesting that comes out of that. Okay, so here we have the softcore comparison across all 4 platforms. Now, I know PC and console version of Diablo 3 is not the same. There are differences. There's difference in mechanics, difference in density, difference in field of view, Nephilim Glory acts differently, etc, etc. But Blizzard is trying to balance the game across all platforms so that they can clear similar levels. So, is that the case? Well, let's take a look. And the Wizard one to start off with is quite interesting because it's the only area where on solo play that console players outperform PC players. PC and softcore solo did 128 as Wizards, but PS4 did 131 and Xbox One did 129. So that is as a result of the DMO Twister Wizard with the casting twisters and channeling at the same time, along with twisters not despawning when they hit a wall on console. Forget Switch, they cheated, they edited their save game with 150, but that is the state of play for Wizards. Now that has implications for Season 16, because DMO's getting a buff in patch 2.6.4 for Season 16, which is only going to further cement DMO Twister Wizards on console. It's going to be able to do 4 to 5 GR levels higher than what it did in Season 15, and that means it will dominate 2, 3 and 4-man leaderboards as well. So that's a shame. It's a pity they couldn't add in the nerfs to it that they did in PC, where the twisters despawn, and I'm not sure they could do anything about holding 2 buttons at once, Blizzard. But anyway, that's where we are with Wizards. 131 was the top clear on PS4, 128 on PC. Witch Doctors were all fairly similar, 117 on PC, 113 on PS4, and 111 on Xbox One, 106 on Switch, given they came late. But that is the lowest class in the game in terms of GR clears. And so hopefully that is addressed in the coming season. Necros were fairly close. 124 was a top clear on softcore on the PC, and it was 122 in the PS4 and 120 on the Xbox One. I think Switch players deserve great credit for getting the 114 in the limited time that they had for that. That is very good. Monks are very close once again with 120 on PC, 119 on PS4, 140 on Xbox One, and 112 on Switch. So Necro and Monk very popular on Switch to get them to that levels within the limited time that they had. Demon Hunters, 117 on PC, 115 and 114 on PS4, One and Xbox One respectively, and Switch naturally cheated at 150, but that again is all fairly close. Crusaders, obviously Crusaders are fairly popular, 126 on PC, 124 on PS4, 123 on Xbox One, and 122 on Switch. My goodness, Switch nearly caught up with the other platforms. That is impressive. Perhaps we'll watch out for that next season in season 16. Barbs, again, all very close. 121 on PC, 120 on PS4, and 118 on Xbox One, with the dubious cheating 150 from Switch. So just to look at that then, taking Wizard out of the equation because of the DMO on console, PC obviously with far more player base takes top spot on all the other classes, but the PS4 and Xbox One are not far behind, with looking like If Switch can get a full season, they too can do comparatively the same as PS4 and Xbox One. It is interesting to note that PS4 outperforms Xbox One in all areas. I think, again, that's not down due to any skill. I think that's down due to the fact that there simply is more players on PlayStation 4 than Xbox One. Because there's some very skillful players on Xbox One too. I just think it's a different player base. There seems to be more numbers on PS4. The groups is very interesting. Let's have a look at that. So the two-man groups, PC cleared 134, PS4 cleared 134, Xbox One 131. But of course, the console guys are using Diablo Twister Wizard for that, so it's maybe an unfair comparison. So since PS4 and PC did the same, it's perhaps not really so, given that the Diablo Twister Wizard is OP on console. But in 3-man, PC takes it back. GR139 was a top 3-man clear on softcore, 138 on PS4, 133 on Xbox One, and who knows on Switch, because we had those cheating entries. The 4-man's interesting, for me anyway. PC did 150, PS4 did 146, Xbox Ones did 145, and the Switch did very well with 139. But the PC one, 150, there was multiple clears on the Asian leaderboards for GR150, but these guys are 5,000 Paragon in season, and of course it's free to play in China, but pay to win. You can buy EXP booster packs. So if you take the Asian player base out of it, the highest PC clear was GR147 in the US. That's very close to the 146 and 145 on the console. So it seems that the 4-man is fairly balanced when you consider all the platforms. Although the 150 done by PC, as I say, was done by the Asian players there. So that's softcore. Let's have a look at the hardcore. Okay, so here's the comparison across all 4 platforms for Season 15 in hardcore. So, Wizards did 120 on PC, as you would expect. PS4 124 outperformed it with the Diablo Twister Wizard. The Xbox One didn't outperform PC, they did 117 in hardcore. Switch did 113, again very impressive. So, yep, the Diablo Twister Wizards, even on hardcore, outperform from console over PC. The Witch Doctors, they did 113 on PC, and there seems to be a lack, as I said, of Witch Doctors on hardcore on console. They did 106 and 100 and a 95. The Necros, so PC cleared 120 in hardcore, 116 on PS4, so that's quite close. 110 on Xbox One. Switch, we don't know, the guy cheated, so he did 150. That's fairly close on the hardcore Necros there across all platforms. Monks again are very close. PC 116, PS4 113, Xbox 111, Switch with 109. Again, all very close to one another. Demon Hunters, I had 115 on PC, hardcore, 114 on PS4, 104 on Xbox, lack of Demon Hunters in hardcore on Xbox One, and Switch, again we don't know, maybe cheating going on. Crusaders, 120 on PC, 118 on PlayStation 4, and like the Demon Hunters, the Xbox One not really up there with the other 2 platforms there with 108. I mean, the Switch outperformed Xbox One on hardcore Crusaders with 112, so that definitely shows a lack of hardcore players on Xbox One. Barbs did 120 on PC, did 114 on PS4, did 107 on Xbox One, and Switch was not far behind with 105. So that's all the solo comparison across all 4 platforms for hardcore. The group setup is again interesting because, well, we've got the Diablo Twister Wizard and console. So on PS4, the 2-man group did 128 and beat PC with 127. Xbox did 120 and Switch did 115. And again, the 3-man PC players take that back as they cleared 132. PS4 not far behind, 129. Xbox did 120, while Switch did 111. Here's what it's very interesting in the 4-man. PC did 146 hardcore clear, and I was genuinely surprised at that, and I thought, well, that'll be these Asian players with huge amounts of Paragon, and it wasn't. These were US players that did a GR 146 in hardcore. I think the Asian players did 141 in hardcore, top clear. So that is hugely impressive to do 146 in hardcore on PC, where if you're disconnected, you're dead. PS4 did 131, which I think that is either up there as being the best on console, or if not the highest on console in hardcore, 131. And Switch did 110. And the Xbox, as we mentioned, when we looked at their leaderboards, didn't seem to be any high 4-man leaderboard entries using the meta on console, so they had 119. Anyway guys, this is a heck of a long video. We've covered all 3 platforms and their leaderboard entries. We've covered a comparison between all 4 platforms, including the PC. I'll put timestamps in the videos so people don't have to hear me ramble on. I'll put links for the spreadsheets so you can see them for yourselves and have a look at them. But that was a standing for Season 15 across PS4, Xbox One and Switch, and a comparison with all of them and PC. Roll on for the patch on Tuesday for 2.6.4, and then Season 16 starts on Friday. I'll be hitting Season 16 on the PlayStation 4. I think I'm going to go back to Hardcore and Monk, so I'll look forward to that. But anyway guys, I'm homerjnick, and I'm out of here.